PDF was established in 2007 when a group of ambitious young professionals got together trying to decode the secret to success in the modern Australian workplace. At PDF, we believe that everyone, not just the elite few, should have access to the right tools, techniques, and networks to develop themselves. We believe that by becoming the best version of ourselves, we lead a more fulfilling life and inspire those around us to do the same. And we do this by running events that aim to inform, connect, and inspire. So just before we get started, a bit of housekeeping. Just know that this is a recorded session that may be distributed via social media in the near future, so keep that in mind. And also, as this is an interactive session where we'll be splitting into smaller groups, I would like everyone here to update their names and turn their cameras on so we can better connect with each other. Lastly, you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. And you also have an opportunity to ask questions directly in the Q&A session in the last 15 minutes. We will aim to wrap things up around 7 p.m. tonight. So, in context of the pandemic and the impact it's having on livelihoods across the world, tonight's topic is boosting your confidence and emotional well-being with our special guest, ST. ST has been running his own mentoring and workshop business since 2016. Most of his time is spent helping teams in the public and private sector boost their cohesion and connection to create better results. Some of you might have met ST when he hosted an engaging session on authentic relationships last year, and we're glad to welcome back ST tonight in digital form to talk about this very important topic. I'll hand over to ST now.
Cool, thanks Sean. Just give me a bit of a, good to see everybody. I know my head is a bit with this virtual thing, it's not working properly, but have a proper set. We're good if everybody can give a bit of a wave to everybody else that's here. Come on, yeah, very good, very good. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Yes, my connection all good, clear. Very, very good. All right, so today, great to see you all. So as Sean was saying, it's going to be quite interactive in a couple of different ways. So one of the ways is we got a chat, group chat going on. So at different times of tonight, I will ask you questions, and I would really encourage you to participate and share your answers, because that really, helps everybody see how you're going with the session today. The other thing that might be good to have is this beautiful, oh gee, this is not going to work with the virtual background. So I'm actually holding a pen and a paper. I don't know, we have to do, oh, there you go, that's the workaround. I think it's really good if you can have pen and paper around so you can make some notes, because obviously the session today is designed to help you get some great outcomes as well. Just to test these little, it's okay, Sean, that you have a camera. You obviously the virtual wave without a camera, that's so good. Just to get a bit of a sense of how everybody is feeling, just type in the chat box how you're feeling right now in this moment, how you're feeling about everything that's going on, and yeah, love to see some responses there in the chat box. Share how you're going. Curious, nice one. What else do we got? We got one curious person. Super, awesome, awesome. What else? Doing pretty good. Love what I'm learning about people. That's awesome. Very nice. A couple more. And I'll share whilst you guys typing. I feel pretty excited. It's always interesting to host one of these sessions. It's obviously very different than the face-to-face workshops that I typically run. And I know some of you were part of the conversation of the PDF event I ran back in, I think, February last year. And those of you who know me quite well know how much I love to have the actual interaction where it's all about connection. It's people bringing together, doing exercises. Very interactively, because I think that's where the real learning is. So what we're going to do today is, so we're going to obviously talk about boosting your emotional well-being and your confidence. And the way we're doing it, so we have the chat box to make it interactive. Hopefully you got that piece of pen and paper with you to make some notes. We're also going to do some breakout sessions where you actually get to talk and to practice certain things with other people on the line. So that's quite exciting as well. It's not just me talking, it's you talking to each other and then sharing some things as well. And at the end of the conversation, so Sean is going to do a bit of a Q&A as well. So that's quite exciting as well in terms of anything that you want to do. Just ask a bit further about. It's obviously going to be a good opportunity for you to share those type of things as well. So yeah, for those of you, if you can put your camera, great. If you're not looking great, or you're not in a great spot right now to share your camera, then that's okay. Don't worry about it. But if you can, that'd be terrific. Any questions as we go in, just put them in the chat box. And the other thing that I think is really important to realize is that, like with any session or anything in life, the more you put in tonight, the more you participate, the more notes you take, the more questions you ask in the chat box, the more you will actually get out of the session. So I really encourage you to make the most of that. All right, cool. So today is all about boosting emotional well-being and confidence. Now, why is that important? Well, I think that, just stepping back for a moment, it's all about potential in a way. The more better we feel about ourselves, the more confident we are, the more excited we will proceed with some of the the things that we want to achieve in life. I think all of us, it's fair to say, just give a bit of a nod if you have some pretty awesome goals that you want to achieve. Yeah, it's good to see there. Yeah, so, and it doesn't have to be big goals, or you can have like small goals in your personal life, you can have like the big professional goals. The thing is, the better we feel about ourselves, the better we feel about our ability to do things, the more confident we feel. The more likely it is that we're actually going out and to take action on those goals and succeed. And especially in a time like today, where it is it's a bit of a tough situation. Obviously there's easing of restrictions kicking off tomorrow, but it's a bit of a funny situation where a lot of people working from home and it's more isolated. Especially in this time, it's very important to learn a couple of important things about how we can actually do something ourselves to lift that emotional well-being and to lift our confidence. And that's, I think, one of the key things for you to realize is that it is very much in our own control. And sometimes when I say this, some people say like, oh yeah, awesome. If I tell you like it's fully in your control how confident you feel or how emotionally well you feel, some people say like, oh, that's great because I can control it. Some people will say that's a bit scary. And the reason they say it's scary is because if it's up to you, it's not as easy anymore to, blame the weather or blame that person or blame certain circumstances. But I think it's really important to realize that today is about checking in with yourself, make some great learnings, go through the exercises, but actually create something on your piece of pen and paper that you can bring forward and utilize every single day going forward, and actually make a really positive shift. So that's what we're going to do. Just a bit of a ask, like if you just check in right now, like how well you're feeling in terms of like your emotional well-being, like 0 to 10. 0, you're feeling not so good. 10, you're feeling absolutely awesome. You're feeling very, very excited. Can you just put in the chat box how well you're feeling at the moment? Also look at the camera. You can also just put it in as put your hands up. That's cool as well. I see a 9. There you go. That's that beautiful 9, Joy. I love it. What else do we got? I'll put a bit of sparkly fingers. And there's 7. Yeah. There's a 7. There's an 8 there. I see a 10. Awesome, Sean. That's really cool. There's a 7 as well. Cool. Okay. What we're going to do next actually is we're going to do a little exercise where we actually get to partner up with somebody and get to know them. And I'll just share my screen real briefly to give you a bit of guidance in terms of what we are going to do. We're going to all right, cool. Let me just click this as full screen. Cool. You guys give me a thumbs up that you can see the screen. So good, so good. Yeah, see thumbs up. Very good. All right, cool. So one of the things that I said earlier is, today's a bit about reflection, and I thought of somebody looking into the mirror. I think it is important to realize, like as I said, like we are 100% responsible for our own emotional well-being and confidence. And the exciting thing is that today you'll learn a couple of things that will help you assess where you are, but then also do something to take it forward. So I'll promise you that if you stick around with all the exercise that we're doing today, you actually come up with a really cool list that will make you feel a lot better about yourself and so your overconfidence and the things that you can achieve. Before we do that, we're going to do the little exercise as I said. So I Googled some nice dogs playing together. So I hope you like it as much as I do. You don't have to do that. Unfortunately, that's not even possible with 1.5 meter isolation stuff. But what we're going to do, we're going to break the room into groups of 3. And you get 2 minutes as a group. And so what I would like to do is just share your name. And some of you said like, hey, I'm a 7, I'm a 10, I'm a 9 in terms of being confident. Let's say you were double that. So let's say Sean, you would feel 20 out of 10 in terms of being confident. Lowly would feel a 14 in terms of feeling confident. Like, what would you actually go out and do? Just share with each other, some of those ambitions you have, and what would you actually do differently if you felt more confident? All right, Frankie, can you please deploy the groups?
Yep, we'll do that now.
Cool, thank you. Good. All right. How was that? What did you learn? I love to hear you share in the chat box some of those things that you share with each other. Especially, so if you would feel more confident and more well about yourself, what would you do differently than right now? What people would you ask for help? Maybe what ideas would you share with your colleagues, with your boss? What job would you maybe apply for that you otherwise wouldn't feel as good about applying for? Or skydiving, yeah, very, very cool. I'm not sure if there's social distancing and skydiving at the moment. We're running my own podcast.
Well done.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, what else? Let's get a couple more. What would you do if you would feel a lot more confident? Would you try a new sport? Would you do some volunteering? Would you raise your hand up to do a bit more to get involved in that exciting project? Yeah, would be running my own consultancy company, write a book. Very, very cool. Good. Awesome. So I think it's fair to say that we can all see that, there's always, like, if we feel more confident, if we felt better about ourselves and we had stronger self-belief, there's probably 1 or 2 things that we would actually go out and do. And it's, we all have that. I have the same as well. I mean, I see, Joy writing a book. Writing a book is on my list. I haven't really sat down to start doing that. At some point, it's even like going back into my journey, like in 2016. So I came to Australia in 2010. I was initially studied, but I was working for a consultancy firm for about 6 years. And I took a leap of faith. To go on my own. I wanted to coach people. I wanted to mentor people. So I left a full-time, financially very interesting gig for something that was brand new. The thing is, I was really, really struggling for a while. I left, I think, late 16, and it's almost like 4 years ago now. I was actually struggling for a while, and only recently, in the last 6 to 12 months, things have really been starting to turn around. One of the things that I struggled with, I worked for a while with a company where I could help them with develop leadership programs and deliver them. But I was really struggling with the selling myself, selling my services. And it's only when I started to apply some of the things that we talk about today, and only when I started to look differently at my ability to do things like that in terms of not just delivering a program, but also convincing a client that it's a great idea to actually work together and run one workshop or run multiple workshops. It's only when I took my confidence to the next level and I started really believing in my ability to do that those things started to happen. And I think we all can kind of look back in our lives in terms of like realizing some of those points where maybe we wanted to do something, we weren't sure, but at some point we went out and we thought about it differently. We started to believing in ourselves, and then suddenly magic started to happen. And it all comes back to that. I think that there's some really amazing things that we can all achieve, and it does come back to our mindset. And the thing that's really, really important is, especially in a time like this, is this. In the IT space, who's in the IT space? Just put your hand up if you're in the IT space. Yeah, or have been in the IT space. Yeah, good. In the IT space, I've never really worked there, but I've heard the analogy that I think is really, really important. The analogy that they use over there is garbage in, garbage out. And what I mean with that one is whatever we consume actually impacts how we think and how we feel, and then in terms of the things that we start to do. So in the IT space, they use it to say, like, look, if you put bad quality of data in, bad processes in, the results are going to be pretty bad. The same is like if we think about our diet, that, you know, if we eat only fast food, if we smoke a lot, if we drink alcohol a lot, I mean, I'm sure we've all been there, that we've had an interesting night of drinking and the next morning we feel a certain way, right? That's exactly the same. So the thing that I want to talk to you about, especially when it goes to the mindset part, is whatever is going into our mind has an impact in terms of how we feel and what we think is possible. So the first thing that I wanted to walk you through today is the following, and I'll share my screen again. So what I mentioned is, so what we consume directly impacts our mindset and our results. The thing is, I like to talk about our information diet, for lack of a better word. If you come up with a better title, let me know. But our information diet is all about, you know, what are we taking in from an information and an engagement and an interaction point of view. So as you can see in the little table that I've done there is, I think there's like 3 different levels in terms of elements of our information diet. One thing is just like if we walk through the streets, what we see. And I think our ability to influence that is very low, because we can't tell people what to wear, what not to wear. You know, we have to walk a certain way to work or to exercise or all those type of things. So that's very difficult to impact, but it does have an impact on us sometimes. I mean, if you see a lot of people wearing the face mask nowadays, maybe you're more inclined to also think like, oh shit, I need to wear a face mask as well. The second level where we have a lot more impact is our interactions and conversations with other people. We don't have full control because, you know, we can't choose our colleagues necessarily, right? To some extent, we can choose our friends. We can't choose our family members. But what we can influence is to what extent we interact with them. And the same thing is sometimes our colleagues or our friends bring up topics, you know, that we have to respond to that. It's not always up to us to always drive and talk about the things that we want to talk about. The important thing that I want you to have a quick think about is this. Of the people in your life, like which people actually make you feel better about yourself? And not just, you know, once, but like how many people in your life, and just think about it for yourself and maybe write it down. But like, who are those people that I like to call my friendlies? Like people who are, if I come up with an idea, they'll say, yes, you can 100% do that. How can I help? Like, who are those people in your life that are really there for you all the time and they're really wanting to genuinely want to see you succeed? On the other hand, hey, you may have people that you spend quite a bit of time with, but you don't always feel great with, or maybe when you walk away, it's like, oh, thank goodness that is over. Or, you know, it's interesting to see that some people always make us feel better and we walk away with ideas. And it's like every time I meet Jeffrey, who's friends on the call, every time I meet with him, it's like I always walk away with like lots of ideas. It's just awesome. You have people like that. But at the same time, you have people in our life where it's just draining. Maybe they like to gossip a lot, or maybe they like to focus on drama a lot. And it's important to be mindful of that, and because it has an impact on how we think and how we feel. And then the last element where we have a lot more control is what we watch, what we read, and what we listen to. And that's, you know, from a watching point of view, you know, what are you watching? Are you watching TV? Are you watching Netflix? What type of stuff are you watching? Are you watching documentaries? Are you watching drama? Same like reading, like what type of stuff do you read and what type of stuff do you listen to? Now, the important thing is, it's not about saying one thing is bad, one thing is good. It's not, look, I watch Netflix as well. I like to watch movies. it's not saying that, hey, don't do stuff that don't always lift us up. What is important is to kind of look at a list in terms of, hey, where do I spend my time, and what are the things I'm doing that makes me feel better, and am I doing enough of that? And what are the things that I'm doing that maybe makes me not feel that good, or doesn't inspire me as much, and I need to do a little bit less of that. So it's really around a little bit like that picture on the side. It's just making a bit of an inventory, do a bit of an audit on your life in terms of how much time am I spending on different things, and where do I need to slightly tweak my information diet. So for instance, if you want to start a business, right, but you don't know about an idea, it's awesome to watch like TED Talks and listen to stories, podcasts about entrepreneurs who started their business, because it will give you new ideas, right? As I said, it's nothing bad about watching Netflix from time to time. But if you want to get some new ideas, you may not always get as many new ideas from binge watching, a certain series or a certain movie type, as by watching or reading something more interesting. Does that make sense? Put your thumb up if you're with me. Cool. So I've hidden my chat box. Where do I get my chat box back? I would love to see you write some realizations that you may have had from this. So right. So what if you realized about your auditing a little bit of your own information, your own intake, and what might you want to do differently? So write it in the answers. Just what have you realized? What might you do differently? Reading too much news. Reduce the amount of fake news I read. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Love it. What distinguishes news, real news and fake news? More news. So I delete Facebook. So I deleted Facebook off my phone probably 3 months ago. Still have Messenger, still have LinkedIn, but yeah. Just realized for me personally, it wasn't giving me lots of great ideas. My diet gets worse when I step out of myself and my goal. Okay, cool. So as I said, it's not about, like with all these things, I think it's very useful practice from time to time just to check in and see like, hey, is this like in terms of how I feel about myself, maybe I'm not feeling great now, is there something I can do differently? And that's where doing an information diet comes in very usefully. Put myself in a situation to work less. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thanks everyone for sharing. We're going to move on to the next activity, which is one of my favorite things to do, which is really a big booster of confidence if you ask me. And in a moment, you'll get a chance to do that together with each other in pairs. So you're going to help each other for a couple of minutes to help each other. But I'll share it right now on the screen again. There we go. Cool. So we have information diet. It's victory list. Have you heard of a victory list? Who here has a victory list? Wave your hand if you have a victory list. Wave your hand if you think, what on earth is a victory list? Yeah, good. See some waves there. See some waves there. A victory list is essentially a list of all your victories, all the little things, all the big things that are worth celebrating. I think sometimes it's very easy to kind of forget about the things we've achieved in life. And the more we, focus on those things, focus on the fact that we've been through some challenges over time in growing up, we've done some amazing things, the more we actually remember that and remind ourselves about, the better we actually start to feel about ourselves. Because all of you have done some amazing things. And it's not always about the big things, it can be small things as well. So that's why I have there, I love the kid there, right? I mean, we got the kid there with the cape and everything. It's awesome. It can be like little things like new experiences. Hey, you tried something for the first time. You tried that new sport. Maybe you're doing dancing and for the first time you did like a new move or something. It can be like any learning. It can be like milestones in your personal life, your professional life, whether it's, you got some great feedback. You started dating that boy or that girl. Your brother or your sister told you, hey, you're really amazing. There's a lot of things to celebrate. Anybody that you can think of that you spend time with in your life, who you think is truly an amazing person, that's a victory for you, because you've done something in your life to attract that person, and that's worth celebrating. So there's a lot of things to celebrate. And I got my list here, and I maintain something on the phone as well to make it easy. It's not always like big. It's not that it is bigger things, right? It's like things that I wrote down here. It's like I got my first coaching client, or it was like I started volunteering for the first time. I wrote my first white paper. It doesn't always have to be about quality. Sometimes it's also about just getting out of the comfort zone. The reason I say that is I just read that point around wrote my first white paper. I'm not saying that my first white paper or my first attempt at writing is anything of magnificent, but I did get out of myself. I did get out of the comfort zone to actually do it. I know Annie and Frankie on the call here today, they just started posting frequently. That's really a massive, massive victory for your list as well. Just posting on LinkedIn for the whole world to see, that's a victory listed on there. And the more you do that, it's just everything is celebrating. And for instance, tonight for me is a victory as well, because this is the first time for me doing an online event with the PDF team today. It's awesome. And that's why I want you to have a quick think, and we're going to break up in a moment. So you're going to work with another person one-on-one, and you're going to help each other for 4 minutes to just ask each other, hey, like what would be on your victory list? What are other things that you can add? And then just help each other with that, because I know you always have done some amazing things. And the more you capture that, and the more you write them down on, I have to do it here again, on that piece of paper for you to look at, or obviously the phones nowadays have the note app where you can write it down as well. It's just amazing to keep being mindful of those type of things, because the more you start to do it, you start to feel a lot better as well. So Frankie, can we invite people in groups of 2 to little groups?
Sure, I'll do that now.
Thank you. All right, cool. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, how was that? Was that okay? Was that not? Oh, where's my head? My head was out of the screen. Yeah, cool. Thumbs up. Who would like to share what they came up with? Please wave your hand if you would like to share what you came up with. Cool. Joy, bring it on. Can you unmute Joy, Frankie, please? Or Joy, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, well, one of the things about doing that kind of exercise is that it really made me think about certainly the time that we're in, and also the challenges that it's thrown me, given that my work is face-to-face workshops, much like you, ST. So, my victory list is just, how many new skills I've had to acquire in the last 6 weeks and hit the ground running. So, it was nice to be able to chat to Annie and tell her about them.
Yeah, cool. Would you like to share a couple of those?
I've had to run a lot of online workshops. So my first challenge was, how do you run a role play session on Zoom? So I've done a couple of those. It's been quite. It's a different way of working, because obviously you don't have the same information available, just because suddenly you're working in 2 dimensions rather than 3. But that's been a really exciting victory for me. Also having to run a seminar for like 150 people. It was just like crazy time, but we got from one end to the other, so that was very exciting.
That's very cool.
And the fact that I'm still breathing is a testament to the fact that it was a victory.
Awesome, cool. Thank you for sharing, Joy.
Thanks, ST.
That's awesome. And I think the important thing is, like, once you start to list down these things, when you start to kind of say them in an active way, it's like, hey, I've mastered Zoom webinars for the first time. I ran a seminar for 150 people. I've done this and this. Like, the more we say like it's in that I am or I have type of way, we start to feel a lot better about ourselves as well. In terms of, wow, I have actually done some things that are pretty exciting, and that's what it's all about. It's not, it's not about being cocky or anything. It's about being really truthful and honest about some of the amazing things that you and I have achieved by, just trying new things, learning new things, connecting with people, and especially in a time like this when it is, tougher, and just in general, sometimes it's just easy to forget these type of things. Once we write it down and have a list like that, it's exactly like it's what Joy was saying there as well. Like when you start vocalizing and when you have it writing it down, it starts to become very real. And the other thing that I think is important to realize then is like you actually had to go through some roadblocks to achieve these type of things. I'm sure that when Joy went through her Zoom thing, it wasn't easy, or she may have had a couple of doubts or questions or concerns about it, but then she went through anyway. And then looking at the exciting goals that you and I want to achieve, realizing that we've already learned so many things, we've already faced roadblocks in the past, and we've achieved goals in the past, will make us feel a lot more excited and positive about being able to achieve those things as well. So that's really exciting. Thank you again for sharing, Joy. So everybody had a great list. Put your double thumbs up if you have a great list. Single thumb up if you have a reasonably good list. Yeah, good. Cool. Okay, we're just going to spend a couple of minutes to wrap this up, and then we'll do a bit of Q&A with Sean. I just share my screen one more time. Okay, so as we said, we've done the victory list, we've put on the cape, listed all, celebrate you. Now, with anything, sorry, let's make it full screen mode. With anything, like all this information is worthless if you don't do anything about it, right? All this information that we just went through, the exercises are worthless if you didn't do the exercise, you didn't write anything down in your notes. So what I like to say is there's no progress without implementation. Those kids on that photo wouldn't have fun if they wouldn't be pushing each other. The model that I like a lot is the model that you see on the left of the screen. It's like, in a way, a session like this is like inspiration. It's like new ideas that come to mind. Without doing something about it, there's not that progress. So it's really where the inspiration meets the implementation. You taking action, you putting things down, is where real progress comes. So I like to say, what gets scheduled gets done. Because if you say like, hey, I will do it at some point, it's easy to get caught up in life. Even in a time like this, stuff will always happen, right? So the more we can schedule things in and make sure that we put in time to do things, the more things are actually going to happen and stick. So if you really want to make sure that you take your victory list to the next level, if you want to take your well-being to the next level, you got to do some things differently. So that's why you got some examples there on that calendar photo there, in terms of, hey, maybe once a week, just look at that victory list and just think of some new things that you can add. Maybe review your information audit in terms of your information diet, in terms of, hey, where can more time in terms of, hey, if you want to learn a new sport, maybe you can read about that particular sport somewhere. Maybe you can watch certain videos. So it's really about making sure that you do the right things. And as always, I love to say, like, always review and celebrate. The more you celebrate you and the amazing things you're doing, I think one thing that you should write down on your victory list today is write down and celebrate that you were part of this conversation tonight, that you're part of the workshop, you've done the work, you've met at least 2-3 different other people, and you got some really great ideas, because that's a victory as well, right? Really like celebrate everything. So what I'd love you to do before we finish up, and I'll hand over to Sean, is if you can please write on the in the chat box some of the things that you're going to implement in your life after today, based on what you've learned so far. I'd love to see some cool things. So what are you going to do? And we're not going to follow up, but in a way, maybe the chat box can be a bit of an accountability. Maybe you can agree with the buddy you were working with to keep in touch, and every now and then just do a gentle nudge and say, hey, what are you going to do about this, or how is this going? Implement the victory list. Yeah, love it, Pat. Who else? What else? Who else is going to implement the victory list every night? Wow, that's awesome, rather. Definitely, it is a great practice. If you would do that right, look at that victory list before you go to sleep. in terms of, hey, what were small victories I've achieved today? To feel really good about yourself, and then bring that in your sleep. And as as your body and your brain is going through the processing of the day, I think it'd be really amazing to sleep soundly, but also cultivate a really positive mindset. So that's a very nice one. Cool. Celebrate. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much all for sharing and being here. It's been really a privilege to be back at PDF. I look forward though to do another face-to-face session once we can do it. Before I'll hand it back to the guys, I just want to give a big thank you for Frankie, Annie, and Sean. You guys have been really amazing in terms of helping me get ready for tonight and make sure everything was good to go. So thank you so much. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So Sean, over to you.
Hi guys. If you have any questions, I'll ask a question first, but if you guys have any questions, please write it in the chat box, or alternatively, please say in the chat box that you want to ask a question directly to ST, and we can unmute you for that. So ST, I just first of all wanted to get your thoughts on your own personal struggles, I guess. Just with confidence, you mentioned that you deleted Facebook, for example. What have been your personal struggles with confidence?
I think the main one is the one I shared earlier. It's around, so at some point, like through my journey, doing personal development and like reading certain books, like I was in consulting, but then I realized I wasn't as excited about doing the consulting work I used to be doing. And then by getting exposure to certain courses and certain volunteering, I realized like, hey, I love helping people. Initially it was around coaching, but then I realized I enjoy a lot more group work where I put some ripples in front of people, but then they actually start to connect and communicate at a much deeper level. The big confidence thing for me was, especially when I started doing that, is like, hey, I've never done it myself. I've never sold a big piece of work. I've never designed and fully delivered a piece of work. And that's a really tough thing, because if you want to sell a piece of work, you do got to believe in the fact that you can design and deliver it, right? And so that was really a big struggle for me, and that's why I was struggling for a while. And the moment I started selling, and I got some really great traction late last year in the public sector, where I delivered, I don't know, like 10 to 15 workshops in like 3 months, which was really, really awesome. The more that happened, the conversation, like I felt a little better about myself in the sense of like the conversation I had, like the sales type conversations I have now are more like, they're not sales. It's more like, hey, I was doing this and this and this for that client. I ran this and this and this workshop for this people. Like, what would you like to do? So it feels a lot better. One of the things that I did though was an exercise very similar to the victory list. Is I started to note like every salary I had in my life. So if I sold like a coaching client, I wrote down like, hey, I sold 3 sessions for this and this money to this person. But then I also wrote like, hey, my first job was XK, and so in a way I sold myself for and my first job was like, I don't know, anyway, like 60K or something. So I said like I actually sold myself for 60K to this and this company, and when I got a promotion, I sold myself. And it's obviously not the same as actually like selling a workshop, but at the same time it is the same, because if you're hired and you're working for a company and you're getting 50,000 or 100,000 or 150,000, you have actually sold yourself and your services as a full-time employee for that amount of money. So that was like one technique that I used on myself to kind of focus in terms of, hey, I actually have successfully sold myself in the past to people. And even like I've sold myself successfully to my wife as a good husband, or good boyfriend initially, right? But it's like there is evidence that I can do it, and the more I focus on those things, that became my victory list for actually starting to sell and do my business a lot more successfully.
Cool. No, that's good. Does anyone else want to answer a question? Does anyone have any questions here? Just please write them in the chat box, or just put your hand up if you want to ask a question.
Just unmute yourself if you can.
Yeah. SG, I just wanted to get your thoughts on social media as well, just given how people are consuming a lot of information daily now since we're all stuck at home. You mentioned that you deleted Facebook. Do you think social media is does it have a lot of negative? Should people be doing that? Is what I'm asking, I guess. Should people be, if they're consuming too much, just removing that, and why aren't they doing that, I guess?
It comes back to that, doing that information audit, that in terms of, like, where am I spending my time and how does that make me feel? I think it's really important from time to time just to check in and see, like, where do I want to go, and am I doing the right things to get there? One of the reasons I deleted Facebook was, like, I love the event function. I love the fact that I would get notifications that my favorite artist and stuff like that is going to perform somewhere. But then what I didn't like so much about it was, like, I found myself scrolling from time to time and then see, like, I don't really care about all this information. There's a lot of people just promoting stuff about themselves that, is only a part of them. Sometimes the problem is, and it impacts a lot of young people, where they think that their friends, have, like, these amazing lives, and if they don't have it, they feel really shitty about themselves. But it's just, some people are just showing one side of them. It's not a full view. So that's one of the reasons I switched it off. And, like, I like spending time on LinkedIn a lot more, because I feel it tends to be a lot more productive and constructive. It's not perfect either. But I think it's important to be mindful in terms of, okay, how do we feel about it? Is it serving a purpose? Because if you want to relax, I mean, there's different ways to relax, right? It's just being mindful in terms of, how does it actually make you feel spending all that time on Facebook or, other social media? And if it's not really useful, why are you doing it? Can you not do something nicer? Can you, pick up the phone to somebody, actually have a conversation? Because you actually get to know somebody beyond, the little post that's just a mini snapshot.
Cool. All right, Joy, do you want to ask your question? I'll just unmute you now.
Sure. ST, I was just wondering, in your experience, what do you think gets in the way of most people reaching their potential?
That's a nice, deep question, Joy. Well, I think there's a couple of things. One thing, I think there's two main things. One is not really knowing what somebody wants, and maybe following, what the media is saying they should want or should like, or what their parents are saying what they should do in life, which may put us on a wrong path. In a way, it doesn't have to be like a wrong path, right? But it's like not the path that actually excites and really makes us feel passionate and fulfilled. The other thing then is, it is around that lack of confidence and the fear about, okay, what's going to happen if I don't succeed, or if I don't have income, or whatever that is. So I think the fear plays like a really, really big role. I think it would be fair to say, if I say, like, why don't I do the things that I really, really want to do, it comes back to, like, some concern, whether it's conscious or unconscious, about just actually asking people for help or getting myself out there. And sometimes, like, what I struggled with personally as well was, I remember when I started posting for the first time, or when I started putting a video on Facebook, like, oh, what are people gonna think about me? Especially, because if it feels quite differently, or they don't expect that. So being concerned about, being seen in a not so nice way by the people that are close to them, or not feeling support, would play a role there as well, I think.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Thanks, thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll jump on to Sean's question now. Is that a question? Yeah, it is. Sean, do you mind if I unmute you?
Sean.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, so potential, I find, is a really interesting thing. Like I mentioned in the comment there, it's not really something that's physical, right? Like, a lot of people will say to you in a workplace, you're not reaching your potential, but they don't even know what their potential is truly, because it's something that you manifest by self-understanding, right? So my potential is based off how I feel about myself, and how I let external factors influence how I feel about myself. So I think that to achieve your potential, you have to remove yourself from those factors that affect you when everything is only ever happening internally. Like, if someone comes up to me and hits me, I don't actually feel them hit me. I feel my nerves inside of me feel an impact and it affects that way. So I look at the same way around my thoughts and feelings. People can't actually affect those. I choose to be upset by what something says. I choose to be upset by the way someone might think about me if I run a video conference, where if you can remove yourself from that, then your potential becomes your own and it's unlimited at that point, right? It's whatever you want it to be. That's how I sort of see it.
Cool. Look, I think I agree with you. Like, there's a couple of things in what you're saying, right? One thing is that as an insult, like if somebody would say you're not reaching your potential, so some proper swear words come in my mind right now, right? I mean, that's just a very, I mean, that's just not. I mean, if we want to really support people and really connect with people, don't say those type of things, right? I mean, that's just very, very low. So I 100% agree with you there. What you're saying in the last bit, I get what you're saying around, hey, if something is getting on our nerves, it's not getting on our nerves. We choose to let it get on our nerves, right? We choose to get offended, and that's a difficult concept I find for a lot of people. Like I have some. You're recording this. That's not good. I have some challenging conversation with my wife around this, where I say like, it's like, you know, I'm so upset with you, and I'm like, yeah, you choose to get upset with me. Like, I mean, Sean, you may have experienced in this area as well, but like, it's for some people, that's a very tough concept. Like, I agree with that. But yeah, it's not always as easy. But yeah, and that's where I think like potential, like, we will best know our potential by, you know, doing different things in life, trying different things out, really feeling where, you know, what does lift us up, what really makes us feel excited, and I guess looking back at our life in terms of what were those key moments in our life where we felt at our best, like what were we doing, because that points, I think, into a direction in terms of where for ourselves we will know that potential can, you know, create the best and most, you know, most interesting and amazing experience for ourselves. Yeah, be careful, Torino.
I think we have time for one more question. Does anyone want to have a go?
I missed most of it. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. Was that a question?
Oh, sorry.
I think Torino, the question you want to ask is if there was something really, really important that I missed in the last 50 minutes, what was it? I think
yes, if you could summarize.
I think people liked the idea of making a victory list, and a victory list that I talked about is essentially you making a little list that you keep up to date with, like all the learnings, new experiences you've had in your life, like the people that you have in your life that you can be grateful for, you know, any achievements, like big or small, but just making sure that you keep track of those type of things and look at them regularly, because the more you focus on, you know, embracing the greatness that you've achieved in your life and the amazing things that you have done, the better you will feel about yourself, and the better you feel about your possibilities to go after some of the most exciting goals that you may have for yourself.
Yeah, and that sounds awesome. And also, I think a lot of it's attributed to a lot of people. I think the people you kind of surround yourself with, and I really like that idea of having that list and the things people have helped you with. It's just a reminder, you know, of the kind of people you have in your life, and always being grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Cool. I think that's all we have for tonight, unless there's any other final questions. No? Okay, I think we can start wrapping things up then. So thanks everyone for attending tonight. As mentioned, feel free to reach out and connect with ST if you haven't. You can add him on LinkedIn, and I've put a link to his website in the chat box. And lastly, I'd like to thank the PDF team, Frankie as well, for helping moderate tonight's session, and also special thanks to ST for this engaging session. We have plenty of events and podcasts in store for you guys in the future, so do keep an eye out on our social media pages. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.